I mean, the people I'm hanging around with, the other skiers and stuff, they don't see my disability. They're looking at, we're up there to ski, and that's what we're doing. And that's just, it's pretty good life.
What's going on, everyone? Nils Mindnich here, and this is the Backcountry Podcast, a show aimed at providing insight into the outdoor industry by interviewing people who work within it. Today, we're going to be talking with Tanner Hopson. Tanner's story is nothing short of incredible. He's a sepsis survivor, bilateral, above-the-knee amputee, and one hardworking, adaptive athlete with the National Ability Center. Tanner, what up, man?
How's it going? Glad to be here. Thank you, Nils.
Yeah, dude, I'm really excited about today, and just even kind of getting to chat with you a little bit before the show. And, you know, we actually got to bump into you at Brighton the other day, and you're sharing Millie May, man. Yeah, how was it?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of park riders up there getting after it. Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
It was hectic up there, dude. There were so many people.
Yeah.
You and your crew were kind of shredding around though. You were talking to me
about giving them a run.
Yeah, you're kind of giving me a quick rundown of some of like the learning curves you're having with your ski setup, right? And you're on this like sick GS ski that you were just carving so hard on. What was up with that?
Yeah, I was on my slalom ski because I actually had broke my free ski up at Snowbird. I was out off groomer where I shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
You know, I made a hard turn getting out of there, and that snow wasn't giving it all, so I pulled my rear binding. I popped the screws out of my ski and took a nice little fall.
Yeah.
Got it on the video, actually.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, did you see that one?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Great. It's like, hit the snow. Yeah.
But dude, you know, I kind of want to sort of gather a little perspective, because it seems like with your amputee, you like have approached it with such tenacity and grit and like incredible work ethic. That's super inspiring. And like, where did that come from? Was that like a switch that happened? Or have you always kind of been this like tough guy?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who knows me in my life would probably say, oh yeah, he gets after it. And I can say that's always been kind of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I work with asphalt.
Yeah.
And so I've been thinking about it more and more because I tell the story. There's a lot of layers to the story.
Let's go.
But as far as the work ethic goes, you know, when you work asphalt, you have an amount of time to get it done. And it dictates to you how hard you need, you know, the weather, it's temperature sensitive. So as the day progresses, you're getting tired, more fatigued.
Yeah.
But the asphalt's telling you to go faster.
Huh.
So it's just something where it creates that determination.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, if I slow down now, I'll never get, we call it a payday. Like every day at the end of the day, you go, yep, it was a payday, because you got to heat it back up.
Yeah.
You got to tarnish your work.
Yeah.
You got people that say, hey, that's not good enough. Well, it's concrete. It's set in stone, you know? So that is an environment where it's just like, it's a rush. I love laying asphalt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up doing that.
Uh-huh.
You know?
And then how did you find your way to more mountain culture? Because you grew up in Montana, correct?
I spent 10 years in Montana through 2010 through 2020.
Yeah.
But I'm from Prescott, Arizona.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're a mile high there, and we've got some great national forests and
nice.
Huge ponderosa forests up there. It's a beautiful town.
Yeah.
And motorcycles and bikes, you know, I grew up, a bike was a mode of transportation, you know, so I would bike 17, 20 miles in a day to school, home from school, get home, eat something, and then back out on the bike and uptown to go, you know, jump around and see what you can get into, you know, just always on my bike. So grew up with that. And
how was it kind of having that like degree of freedom as a kid?
Yeah.
You liked
just,
it?
You know, street smarts and knowing, you know, you're engaged in what you're doing, and don't realize you're getting skilled at something. You're just having fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not about getting really good at riding a bike. It's about, the bike is just a tool to go and live your life, and just the carefree. Yeah. You know, just gets you around, and it's, you know, you don't want to, you keep your tires aired up, and you make sure your bike's going to take you where you need to go. You know, it builds a lot of, you know, looking back now, it's like, give me a lot of level of responsibility. And
I was going to say, kind of like I feel growing up, I also grew up in a little bit more of a rural area in Vermont. And so much of my childhood was in the backyard, digging bike trails or like trying to clear trees in the woods to make a paintball course or something. Right. And there's just like that time and mileage just kind of on your own or with your friends out in nature is, I feel like, it distilled a lot of kind of independence and like accountability on me. Sure. It wasn't like I didn't resonate with video games and things like that. I just loved being outside. And there was something about that, like you're tired, you're physically tired, you're like mentally always kind of problem solving. And it sort of set the trajectory for like the rest of my life.
Yeah, we're blessed in that. I can say I didn't own a console,
Yeah.
Like I can say that. Like I literally, my parents weren't going to get us one.
Yeah.
I like video games. I've played them. We'd rent one like once or twice a year or something. We'd rent one from the video rental and it was like on, game on.
Yeah.
But we didn't have access to that stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so let's kind of talk about your early days in Whitefish. You said it was a pretty like formative experience when you first found your space there.
Yeah, I started snow in 2012 in Whitefish. I never had a ski pass, rode for 7 days in Breckenridge when I was 18, snowboarded. And I had a boss that his year-end bonus was to give us a pass to the mountain, so that was my first experience with a pass and having the winters off from doing dirt work and landscape. So it was about riding. That's what the winter was going to be about. So I jumped headlong into that and started hanging with the locals, and they started showing me the ropes real quick, because if you weren't going to catch up with the level of riding and the trees and the powder and just all the different places on the mountain, then you're going to be stuck with the rest of them,
Mm-hmm.
the other groups.
Mm-hmm. And how long did you were you in Whitefish?
2012 through 2019.
Yeah. And then things kind of changed in 2019. 2019, anybody who's been in a ski town or is starting a lifestyle in a ski town, there's a lot of things that go along with that. And there's a lot of choices about life that you get to make. And I just was having a good time, put it that way. I was... The last year, I don't even think I rode maybe 2 or 3 days, 2019, So I was starting my own business in excavating and paving, getting busy with that. And then just, the having ridden every winter and just kind of like, taking things for granted a little bit and kind of started falling away from my time on the mountain. Yeah.
And I fell ill.
Yeah.
In December. I came down, I went on a vacation with my girlfriend at the time. And we were in Palm Desert and we were about ready to leave a 5-day vacation. And I had a backache and I just felt so nervous about the way I felt that after a chiropractor and an urgent care visit, some fever, a couple nights of fever, I admitted myself to the hospital. And within hours, I was in a fully medically induced coma on life support, dying from, they didn't know what was wrong with me. So after 3 days of coma, they decided to pull me off the sedation because I was in a lot of danger for staying sedated. And I woke up and it turned out I had got strep A in my blood from an unknown source, and I went septic shock and toxic shock. And limb loss is very common with those types of things because your blood pressure gets all wacky and your body suffers with getting blood into vital areas and things die. So I laid there for 6 weeks and they monitored me and were kind of seeing what my body was going to do. And I had 4 amputations. They took my feet off and I laid there for a while like that. And they finally told me if we don't take your legs that it was basically like poisonous. It was poisoning my body, And I was begging for my knees because it's like I got really smart about, like in an instant, all the common sense is like, oh, knees would be good. It'd be nice to have my knees. And so they couldn't guarantee that, So I went under again and woke up with above knee amputations after 6 weeks in the hospital. So made it about another month and a half or so of wound care, and I started getting healthy right away after they got rid of my legs. And then I was very close to losing my arms. So when they got the strep A, when they figured out it was strep A, and the antibiotics that they were using to treat that, when they figured that out in time, my arms got blood flow back. So they saved my arms. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. Dude, how your perspective changes so quickly with something like that, right? Like the shift that must take place, the reality that sets in so quickly. I mean, I can only imagine how grounding and savage.
I had no problems anymore. My life got very simple in a way because I had one problem.
Yeah.
I had no other problems. I had one problem, and that was living through. So I was a very good, I was a good patient.
Yeah.
I made them do their job, but I did everything they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
I flew through there's the medical teams, shout out to UCSD San Diego Health. Yeah, those people. And you get in a burn unit, in an ICU burn unit, you want to talk about the rubber meeting the road. I mean, those people are doing a job, and it's no joke. Everything is just reality. It's like a war zone. It's like being at war.
It sounds totally. Just like warrior mentality.
No baloney. I mean, there's humor. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But they saved my life and gave me the best treatment possible and sent me out of there pre-COVID. I walked out of there March 11th, rolled out of there March 11th. Like the next day, COVID had hit. We didn't know. We got out of the hospital traumatized, and we're looking at a world, turning on the TV, going, what is everybody? You could just sense something amiss, what's going on? And you start asking questions and watching the news, and everybody's talking about this virus and COVID and all this, and we're like, COVID? How about missing my limbs? I'm like, that's nothing, So it's kind of the joke.
That is crazy timing. I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was interesting because everybody was more on a level of self-awareness and health and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of nice because people were able to kind of relate to my story a little more. Like, hey, anything can happen to any of us at any time. We never know. And things were happening. People were falling, people were, you did hear stories. People did lose their lives.
Yeah.
So it's a very sensitive time.
Jeez.
On top of what happened to me,
no kidding.
Out, that was wild.
That is such a trip. It was, that historically is such a weird and unearthing period for humanity. And then let alone to have this completely life-shifting thing happening within the same week. And that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. My life was medical visits for 3 years,
Yeah.
So those following 3 years all the way through.
And what was, what's that, what was the process like, right? It's kind of early COVID. Did you just instantly kind of hit the ground running and start setting goals? Was your old sort of grit, tact, hard work ethic just there along the whole way?
It was a learning curve with understanding. It's like everything happens so slow. So I had to kind of drop into a different level of all right, I got to work with these people. If I'm going to get what I need, I'm going to have to play to the beat of their drum. So that was hard because you don't get treated like it's all about you. It ain't, you know what I mean? It's just get in line, buddy. There's a lot of sick people out there. There's a lot of people that need legs. There's a lot of people that need burn garments. It's just there's a lot of people that need wheelchairs, So it was a little bit of a learning curve, making relationships with the people I was going to be working with. Once I got that figured out, I didn't have any issues. It was really smooth. And But I was sick, so I had a time getting the right prosthetics made, but at the same time, my body was healing from sepsis, from an internal sickness. I was very weak. I got out of the hospital. I was down to as frail and skinny as I'd ever been in my life, because I wasn't able to have an appetite the entire time. 3 months, I didn't hardly eat anything, like a couple bites here and there. And I denied the feeding tube like a stephead. I was like, nah, I ain't gonna take that. Too strong for that. Well, tell you, take the feeding tube. But yeah, I got back to healthy and strong, and then it was like all this equipment that my life was going to be revolving around, fitting it to my body. And wheelchair is terrifying, learning a wheelchair, and your legs being gone, you don't have weight out there. So you're like, if you fall, you're cracking your head. So it's like, after a year, I was ripping around with my girlfriend or able bodies that can't keep up with me, right? And my upper body's, my strength's coming in. But it took some. So I spent that first year in a wheelchair, learning wheelchair. And then I started getting legs that would fit. And with the first year, on the anniversary of admitting myself to the hospital, December 29th of 2020, I made some steps in my hotel room. You could see it. It's on my page. And I'm like, I put on my snowboard helmet. I mean, I was that terrified. It looks kind of goofy. But I was like, hey, if I fall, I'm going to hit my head on I'm going to have a helmet on. But I made some steps. And then it was just from there, I was just like, all right, let's go.
That was kind of this clicking moment.
Yeah, I was like, I can make this go.
Yeah.
It's the fear. It was my mindset and the fear of falling and the fear of not being able to feel the ground. Or it was the unknown or the uncomfortableness of the whole newness of everything that was holding me back. It wasn't, even though my equipment wasn't ideal, even though I could have had all kinds of excuses to hold myself back, or like, oh, it'll come. I was getting weaker if I didn't go.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, all right, it's got to start sometime. I've been on social media watching other amazing amputees out there. There's some amazing amputees out there doing this stuff. That's where I watch them and I'm like, hey, they're doing it. This is me. I've seen them with my own two eyes. They're living a life. Like, I got a friend, limb loss boss, Hayden Bailey. He's a union pipe fitter. He's a family man. He's got 4 kids under the age of 4. He's doing life with no legs. This guy's a freak. Boss. And I'm like watching him, limb loss boss. Yeah. He's got 1.4 million followers on TikTok. I'm watching him in my hospital bed going, okay, I could do this. Like, oh my God, like, how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
But now here I am. So it was just like, within a year of my processor legs, processor legs are like a knee joint.
Yeah.
You learn on stubbies and then you get into a processor leg that has a computer in it and it's got a refresh rate in it and it's got a piston and hydraulics in it. It's resisting. It's like working like your normal, like your knee would. Within a year of that, I was up fully independent on legs of having them because California, insurance gave them to me. So I didn't have insurance when I fell ill.
No.
So I was able to get on state insurance in California and thank God they, covered me.
Yeah.
So.
Jeez, man. And you know what you were saying too with like your first steps, literally like you had fear of the unknown. Like you're scared. Those are things that like kind of notch down able bodies in like everyday life.
Prevalent. Oh God, and it's like everywhere. We all don't do things.
Yeah, and then let alone it's just in such like you had to process and go through that in such like a primal like warrior type way, just to walk. And then like did it start to compound after that? Like has your confidence just been like stacking up since then? Because like there's stepping, but then like you're skiing, you're biking, you're showing me videos of like shredding a bike. What was like the first experience trying to ski your bike like?
Terrifying in the sit ski. I have videos of me on Big Mountain Whitefish. Julie Tickle, Dream Adaptive, took me up, and if you got to look close to see that I'm moving in the video. Like I am moving, but no, it's just like here we go again, like falling over. you don't have any bearings on how to, like it's an instinctual thing to, if I fall, I'm going to get hurt. Like you're trying to balance on something that you have no way to govern that. But, you may fall. How many times are you going to fall before you're like, I'm tired of falling, So it was very uneasy feeling getting in a sit ski. Day 6, I was like making turns,
Mm-hmm.
Day 12, I was carrying some speed and felt in a little more control. And then it was to, my equipment's not working right. Well, no one else knows, they're not in your body. So I had been through the prosthetics. I'm like, I learned how to, I said, I need to tweak it here. I need a little more bend in the knee. I need a little more toe rise. I need a little more alignment, abduction or induction. Like, I have a very mechanical mind. So I've been able to do this stuff through my process. In a sit ski, you have a shock on there. I need a little more shock. It's too stiff. Or your balance point in the bucket, it's where the binding is. You want to be in the center, so that you have the front of the ski and the back of the ski. You don't want to be too far back, or you don't want to be too far forward. Just the constant harmonizing and dancing and getting closer. Every time you're making an adjustment, you're getting closer to what's, eventually you're going to have it perfect or good enough. Or saying, hey, it's me. I'm the weak link. I'm this mess. I'm the problem here. It's my ability. It's my lack of skill level. And always being able to look at yourself and not saying, oh, well, if I had a nicer equipment. Because when I started out with prosthetics, when I finished my first set of sockets and got with a different company, I was wearing 27 layers of cotton socks between my stump and the sidewall of the socket. I had 27 layers of socks on, which is like an inch of cotton.
Yeah.
And I was walking 5,000 steps a day, and I go into the prosthetist. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm ready for new sockets. And then when I got sockets that were tighter and fit right, I was gone because I had built all this strength up.
Yeah.
And but I was pushing through all these unideal situations.
Yeah.
Staying safe, not injuring myself, not injuring my limbs, but continuing to make progress everywhere that I could, knowing that when I do get the equipment right, I'm going to have the ability to go with it.
Yeah.
And that's been my concept of everything now with the skiing. And, when I used to do dirt work, I'd have a machine break down. I'd go grab another machine. It wasn't the right piece.
Yeah.
But I would make it work for the time being because I'd still be making progress and not just sitting on my laurels doing nothing. So I've always kind of had that concept of pushing forward, keeping the morale up, keeping the forward progress, keeping the momentum.
It's like a job.
Keeping the machine moving. And then, trying to enjoy the process as much as you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because once you get somewhere, it's like, all right, now what do I do?
Yeah.
So like, I'm just looking at the skiing thing like, okay, maybe I'll make it to Paralympics one day.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll do it again after another 4 years. Like I just never going to arrive.
Uh-huh.
I've decided that in my life. I'm never going to just get somewhere and say, okay, that's good enough. And now I'm going to just sit back and look at my accomplishments. I don't want that.
No.
I want to be in the process of something that is resisting me.
What is it? Why do you feel like you're drawn to that? Because I think so many able-bodied people are like content. And then I'm not sure about your space, but like maybe you meet folks that are also content, just like in the wheelchair. And they're like, oh, thank goodness, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what's
like a prosthetic user that doesn't go after the prosthetic life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, right? I can tell you for me,
about that.
I get in trouble. If I get bored, I get in trouble. I'm up to no. I do things that don't benefit my physical body, my mental body, my relationships in my life. Across the board, if I get complacent, that's danger zone for me. And I've recognized that because when I was down and I had 2 years to sit on a bed and my biggest task was to get on and off a toilet without cracking my head, and that was a good day. I had a lot of time to plan and think about, okay, if you're going to do this again and you're going to do it right, you're 40 years old and you have one more crack at this, getting it right this time. How are you going to stay out of harm's way and keep being, you might have 1% of progress one day and 50% the next day, but they're both the same because you progressed.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, is the movement in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't get bored. I have to be challenged, or else if I get bored, then I'm just like taking advantage of my skill level and the gifts that I have as a person. Then I'm just coasting. And then with that extra time, I'm doing things, I'm taking shortcuts, the easy dopamine hits, the easy fixes and stuff to try and fill that void, but it doesn't have a payout. It takes from me,
Dang.
So I've recognized that about myself. So that's a place I don't go.
Yeah. I mean, dude, to be able to, that's a pretty deep level of like intuitive knowledge to have of yourself, I would say, because there's plenty of people that don't have that. Look at any like maybe drug addicts, or people that struggle with substance abuse, right? There's kind of a parallel there of folks that just like are trying to get that hit of like reward, or just like a stimulation almost is maybe a way to look at it, but they are maybe too afraid to put in like the work to be humiliated to not succeed, like.
Oh, you name it. There's so many peer pressures out there of things that discourage us from failing. But the funny thing is, when you fail, there's no one sitting there saying, "Oh, you suck." They're going, "Dude, go try again." Like, I lost my legs, everybody's rooting for me. Like, I go and ask for help, nobody's denying me, nobody's turning me down. That's what people don't understand. It's like there's a molehill and we turn them into mountains, right? Like, it's as long as we fear that thing, and then when we press up against that thing and step over it, then we think, "Oh, what am I afraid of?" You do that over and over and over again, pretty soon you realize, hey, it's all small. It's me making it big because I just don't want to get off my laurels, get off my past accomplishments. Because when we were younger, the older we get, we're kind of like, all right, I can rest here, but really that's what we're designed to do, is be up against resistance, and that resistance is what makes us thrive.
Yeah, so it makes you human.
Breeds health and wellness and mental health, and all those things come from that.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie and the play, just because we get older doesn't mean we still don't want to play and have, life as a game. Like, we're out there, we have the strength, we have the time, we build our lives so we can continue to play even as we're older. That's thriving. We've lost that as a society.
I want you to keep going about play, because I've done some, like, a little bit of reading and just sort of like some podcasts on listen to podcasts on the parallel between play and learning. And they're sort of synonymous, and it's, the piece was kind of exposing how like kids are always at play, and the act of play sort of like keeps your mind open to failure, but it also keeps it open to learning and like pursuing your goals versus maybe, if I mess up, then I fail, I should stop. And do you feel like that perspective has kind of helped you with progressing in like sit ski and biking and just like other tasks, looking ahead for your future?
So that, I have a very descriptive answer for that, because my 20, 30 years as a man in the construction industry was, as a 20-year-old was, okay, here's a new machine. We have a customer that's paying. They don't know you didn't run the machine, but today you're going to learn how to run the machine, and you're going to make money for this company, and you're going to have a result at the end of the day. Here's the machine, have fun. So the pressure was there. But I was like, it was my dad, and I was going to make my dad proud. So it was like, my dad believed in me. I felt that, but he was hard on me. But then when I got out of the professional world, I mean, by the time I left construction, like, I was a beast on the paving grade. I could grade gravel, base material to 1/8 of an inch with a machine. Like, it's just the stuff I would do was like, I would blow myself away. I'd be like, oh my God. Get down and check a grade. It's like, oh my gosh. I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. But it was like, when I fell ill and when I came out of there, I'm like, I'm a freak. I don't have any legs. Like, no, oh man. I got sick because of my alcoholism, that's part of my story. It's all out there. Mm-hmm. I was trying to step away from my lifestyle, how I ended up in Whitefish there my last year, not skiing and just being tied up with alcoholism and trying to get away from that, and falling ill specifically because of complications with that lifestyle. I decided, like, I don't care if no one else loves me or agrees with me or believes in me. I don't care. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to forgive myself. And even if no one else ever loves me again, which probably isn't going to happen, right? My mom loves me to death. Right? I have daughters. I have 3 daughters. But just, let's just say that I'm going to love myself enough to give myself this opportunity. And that's when I was just like, my world opened up. Because if I was going to learn how to use my prosthetics and I started getting frustrated and I started getting that headspace where I felt under pressure, I stopped. I'm like, go sit down. Who cares? That's a wrap. You're done for the day. Tackle it in the morning. Tomorrow's another day. I give myself all this liberty and all this freedom to learn something that no one else could tell me what I was doing wrong. I mean, yeah, prosthetists, and they know, and there's physical therapists and stuff. I did all this without a physical therapist. I have no therapy. Jesus, I learned how to walk. I mean, they put you on the little Johnny Jumper thing. Like, so the liability is so big. It's like, they're not going to learn the way I wanted to learn. I just wanted to go send it off a curb. I want to go send it down a grass hill and fall 15 times and get it right the 16th time. And maybe it was ugly, but I didn't fall, so I just started making it fun, because when I did learn how to walk, it was going to be like, hey, I'm a guy with no legs walking around. Or it's like, hey, you're going to live your life in a wheelchair. Like, oh, I don't want that. So it was like, you talk about play, or you talk about judgment, or the fear of failure. It's like, it didn't matter. All it matters is that I was getting up and trying and giving it my all, not someone else's best effort, my best effort. And no one else can tell me what that effort was. Only I know that. I don't know what your best effort is. Only you know that. So you can get by. But when you go to bed at night, hey, I could have done a little more. So we can't judge each other, but deep down we know where our levels of abilities are. And so I just decided I was going to do it to the best of my ability every day. And now my days are stacking up and things are starting to. So like, yeah, if I can learn how to walk on prosthetics, I can learn how to ski and I can be good at it. Like, I was good at running tractors. I was good at using a shovel, a wrench, whatever I've ever done, and put my heart behind, I've been good at. So why wouldn't I be good at other things, So I've taken that over into everything that I do now. I want to take care of my dog. I'm going to put everything I have into it. And we have a great life. I mean, I'm a good dog owner. I plan ahead. It just helps all around with everything in life for me. And having a sober mind, being clear in my head and being rested and setting boundaries in my life. It's just all these things have had to come into play for me in a real way to get back to just a normal level of life. And now, 3 years later, I'm like, okay, I don't have to let all this other stuff in that I was doing before, because all it's going to do is shut me down. So it doesn't take much to shut me down. I got to plug my legs in every day. I forget to do that, I'm shut down. Like I fall down and break my finger, like I'm shut down. Like, things can happen for me that could shut me down. So I can't make a lot of mistakes, but I can do all this stuff right, and I make very few mistakes. But I'm doing so much. And that's how I used to do construction. It was all about the prep. It was all about the forethought. It was all about the
premeditative.
Yeah. The logistics. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you succeed.
Yeah.
And if you're having fun doing it, you'll want to do it again.
Yeah.
And you won't, you'll be like losing track of time, having fun. That's what I like. The skiing to me has turned into like this amazing opportunity to just let my disability doesn't exist. I mean, the people I'm hanging around with, the other skiers and stuff, they don't see my disability. They're looking at, we're up there to ski, and that's what we're doing. And that's just, it's pretty good life.
Yeah. Let's talk about, and we kind of briefly touched on it before we started the interview, is like the sort of that mesh between disability and able body, and how there's sort of this conversation going on, but how we can kind of improve, right? We want to figure out how to improve to like blur the lines of like your day on the ski hill or the mountain bike trail with like my day on the hill or the mountain bike trail. And like, I kind of want to
obliterate the division between.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would say is,
how do we do that?
Because what I would say is you might be, say you volunteer to help an adaptive group, that adaptive person might need you there less than you need them there. So I'll say that again. You're there to volunteer for that adaptive group, but really maybe you need it more than they do as an able body. Because, that able body person can help that disabled person, the adaptive person, and make that adaptive person's experience possible or better. And then that able body can see and take a step into a life that puts them in such a level of gratitude and awareness of the gifts that they still have that could be taken, that, it's not healthy or fair to just say, take them for granted. To say, because people say to me all the time, man, I've had people say, I'll kill myself. But I'm like, you don't know that. But I've heard stories too of people that have, older people that have gotten disabled later in life. I've heard it all. But the thing is that I hope everybody could build themselves up to a place in their life where they had enough character and love for themselves, where if something tragic happened to them, that they'd be able to continue on. That would be pretty cool world to live in. Whether they need help or whether they're strong enough to do a lot of it, take it on themselves, and just test their mettle and show what they're made of. Like, we should all be able to stand up to tragedy without making it harder for society to help us because we were so messed up before the tragedy even struck. Or we brought the tragedy on ourselves like I did. That's how I feel. That's the life I live. I live a life of my failures. I wear my failures on the outside. Everybody can see it, whether they know my story. I don't have to tell everybody the whole story, but in the real story is that I didn't want to be a burden to my world anymore. And I didn't recognize that I was being one. I thought I was just the coolest dude around. Yeah. Had it all together. Didn't need no help. No one's doing that for me. And that's not the case. I have a family that stood beside me. I have a family that knew I was in harm's way and I wouldn't admit it. And I won't be that person ever again. And I want to be able to help shine the light on that for people in a respectful way and just say, hey, recognize where you're at and come on, let's go. Let's go play. Let's go get after life, because there's a lot of bad examples out there. And I don't have any interest in following those type of, someone's gonna have to tell me a lot before I take anybody's word for something, because I just don't believe, I don't believe a lot of things. I trust my own judgment now. Thank you.
Yeah, your own intuition.
Yeah, I want to be the example that I see I could be. Yeah. For others. Yeah. And keep getting more of a fulfilled life. Yeah. I want to experience that I can. Maybe I'm older. Maybe I live to be older to where I don't have the ability to walk in prosthetics, or I can't go rip down a mountain at 40 miles an hour, carving through gates and stuff. And I'm going to sit there and have all these memories of what I did in my life. And I'm going to be able to pass it down. I'm going to be able to enjoy my life. I live that far ahead, but I'm present today. And it's the best of both worlds.
Dude, that's powerful.
It's good, man.
And I think even kind of, what you're sharing, right? Like the able-bodied person might need that perspective or story much more. And I totally agree. And even one-on-one this experience for me right now, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. You're saying it, man. I see it, I get it. And I spend a lot of time trying to live in that space where I'm like, okay, there'll be days I'll be like, oh, I don't want to move all this snow to hit this jump to try this trick that I'm scared about. And then there's a lot of factors that come into play with that, but there is this
logistics of it. Yeah.
There's the logistics, but there's also this kind of mindset that part of my motivation is I owe it to myself because I've built the skill set to get here, but I also I almost owe it to a lot of other people that maybe don't have the skill set to hit this jump, to have this experience.
Levers. Yeah, they're all levers.
And it's all these little levers that you kind of implement to be yeah, I'm going and I'm going to keep going, and that, for me, it creates this like compounding, fulfillment and like clarity almost. And that like positive feedback loop that I keep getting. And it seems like that you're thoroughly pursuing yourself, is just extremely powerful. And to try, to like have the perspective to try show that example to others and like pass that along, is extremely respectable. And I'm curious too, like you're goal oriented, you're looking forward, you're planning ahead. You mentioned Paralympics. What is that kind of like? Do you feel like you have a good grasp of where you're at now and like where you kind of need to get? Because you're also, we haven't even talked about your relationship with the National Ability Center and like probably the examples and the path and infrastructure they're able to like help provide you to get down that road.
Yeah, they have a system in place. They've been going for over 20 years developing this program. They have I'm on the high performance alpine ski team, and they do over 20,000 experiences a year for adaptive individuals, from neuropathy to emotional PTSD, veterans, a lot with veterans. I've been telling anybody who is discouraged to do something in an able-bodied fashion to call NAC, and don't use that as an excuse, because you'll never do it. You have no excuses. Call them up, they'll figure out a way to get you in on it, whether it's rock climbing or pickleball or archery or rope course, bikes and snow in the winter. But they're athletes. There's a lot of athletes on the U.S. national team. And Matthew Brewer, shout out to Brewer.
Yeah,
he was at Beijing last year racing with the Paralympians, and he's kind of the instigation. I looked at his path and the direction he was going. I'm like, I'm calling the NAC right now. And I called him up and talked to the coach, and he's like, come on board. Let's go. You show up and we'll dial you in. So that's been huge. But I have the biggest duration of time, 4 years basically, because I came on last season. So I have 3 seasons, and then Paralympics being 26.
Yeah.
So I have this time frame, but there's no pressure. It's like, I wanted the lifestyle. I want to be around these people. I want the routine. I want the culture. And if the success comes with it, fine. But then what? I'm going to, so it's like, there's not any, it's not like a war zone. It's like a happy little petri dish, of growth. And it's like, I end up this season in Kimberley, BC on Dreadnought, going down in 3 disciplines, completing all my races through the gate, through the finish line, with, in the middle of the pack. Finished my season with day 72 in a sit ski. Totally stoked, blowing out my, thoughts of where my understanding was going to be with ski and what I'm doing. I went fast. How did I go fast? Can I do it again? Can I repeat it over and over again?
Yeah.
Because to me, I don't want to get lucky. I want to know how I did it, and I want to go out there and make it even better every time and build on that, so that I am sure, if I have success, I got there quick. Well, I was very intentional about it, and I wasn't taking losing any opportunities to be growing. And then so if I get to the Paralympics and I do well, it was very intentional. It was very thought out, and it was very realistic because I did it that way.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to enjoy myself. And when I start getting frustrated and it's not fun, I know I'm doing something wrong. I let up. Call it a day. It's not a big deal. That's the ego. Get the ego out of there. Take the ego out of it, and we're all beautiful. We all have gifts. We all have skills. We're all strong. We're all made of the same thing. And we all need to just be ourselves and not try and conform to a cookie cutter thing, because that's where we're unhappy. Where there's so much diversity, so much uniqueness to each one of us. So yeah. Having the confidence not to step out of that peer pressure and step out of that fake, phony like judgment. Like, no one's judging you, you're judging yourself. Just get over it. To walk around and feel like I failed worse than you, believe me, but I can do it. That's a great life. I love my life now. I don't miss my legs. I feel like I hit the lottery, but when I was in pain, it didn't feel that way. But today, to where I've gotten, to me, it's a blessing and it saved my life. And that's really trippy to think about it that way.
A wild perspective to have, right? Because like you're in a place of such, it seems, like alcoholic, substance abuse, and like in such a bad way, and the chemical anatomy of your brain and how you process and how you think and how you perceive the world, then versus like I can imagine and I can see just through talking to you the kind of focus and clarity and like the ability to regulate, the dichotomy of those two headspaces has to be like profoundly empowering.
Yeah, I was underestimating foreign substances and what they're capable of. I was underestimating the things I was doing. Yeah. Because culturally it's whatever.
Yeah.
I grew up around a lot of things. God.
Ski towns are like an epicenter.
And I have a lot of friends that I think about, and I have a lot of support from Whitefish. And there are some amazing people that I know that it hurts to know that they don't live through me. Don't live vicariously through other people. Don't. Live through yourself. You're never going to get the full experience.
Full journey.
It's not, it's okay to cheer on your fellow man, but don't live through someone else's experiences, because what are you here for? What's what I don't need a fan section. I need a person I could count on if I fall, that's there to, I want to be there for my fellow man, so.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's cracked open a world that's never going to be shut out again for me.
And you're just the beginning, right? Yeah.
3.5 years into this experience and getting my legs underneath me. Literally. And then the ski, like I was riding the ski at Brighton the other day, like I felt like I was walking. Like I felt like I knew that ski, like I knew my legs before. Like I'm still getting to where I don't think about walking, but I'm still learning and want to get better, so I'm conscious of it. But the skiing, it's like I'm like looking at things and looking at the mountains and other riders, and I'm just like skiing. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like I have something under me that I can predict and
you trust,
control, and it's a good feeling. My disability goes away. Mm-hmm. So I'm on the same level as able bodies. We're all disabled. So there you go. Like when I got out of there, I was a little bit emotional, a little bit angry and trying to deal. And I'm like, my disability was alcoholism, I was like, whoa, like who cares about a couple legs? Like really? My alcoholism is shutting me down. You don't have to have a disability or a handicap to have substances disable you from living.
Yeah.
Or relationships or whatever.
Anything.
There's
whatever.
Anything. There's, you name it. There's a million different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So that was eye-opening to me. That was a tough pill to swallow. It was self-reflection, self-responsibility,
Yeah.
Self-accountability.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Crushing it.
Yeah.
So hard.
Anybody has permission to call me out if they see, like, we know you're better than that, Hopson. Oh yeah.
Man, dude, this has been really profound.
Yeah.
And like I'm so grateful to have had this experience, and I think everyone will really enjoy kind of tuning in and hearing your story. And I'm stoked to follow you on like your journey and your passions and like your pursuits, and just kind of knowing your perspective is also extremely enlightening. And your story is one thing, it's incredible, but I think what's so powerful too is with what you're kind of tapped into is this this messaging that you're extremely passionate about and you have a good perspective on. And I'm just so grateful that you like wanted to share it.
I don't know.
Yeah. And
likewise, I'd say the same for you, brother.
Yeah.
I don't want my story to be over. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, I want it to keep going.
There's never an end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's just always like,
I don't want to rest on my laurels like that. You know what? Yeah. Like, put jetpacks on my stumps, bro. I want to be the first flying amputee, man. Put some turbines on there. I'm ready.
Get your turbocharger on your bike.
Yeah.
Start somewhere. Oh man,
yeah.
Dude. Well, thank you so much.
Cool, man.
I just kind of want to open the floor for like, who would do you want to shout out any thank yous on your end?
I did. UCSD, San Diego Health, all those doctors out there that dealt with me and my special requests.
Yeah.
NAC, my mom, my dad, my family,
awesome.
Daughters.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My teammates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Solid.
Backcountry.
Yeah, let's go. Well, thank you. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And in the meantime, from the crew at Backcountry, we will see you out there.